If we never do the work to challenge what we were taught to believe about ourselves, our futures, and our capabilities, then we remain in the reality enforced by those beliefs. Let the universe set the tone for you, as opposed to projecting your fears onto the future. This is essentially what we are doing when we allow pessimism, overthinking, and outdated belief systems prevent us from taking action. Assuming the worst, avoiding trying new things, and shrinking ourselves are coping mechanisms that once protected us. Maybe once upon a time it was dangerous to step out of line or make too much noise. Maybe once upon a time you had to walk on eggshells or diminish yourself to avoid physical or emotional injury. The harsh truth is that our old habits and perspectives are keeping us mentally trapped in traumatic spaces that we are no longer actively in. If we never do the work to challenge what we were taught to believe about our futures, ourselves, and our capabilities, then we remain in the reality enforced by those beliefs. Understandably, we have this desire to distance ourselves from ever being in close proximity to our triggers again, a tendency to create distance through avoidance. But in doing so, we are actually attaching ourselves to the feelings we so desperately want to be free of. Whether it's fear of rejection, failure, or judgment, within this space that you've created, you are actually closer than ever to these fears. You're sharing a room with them. You're sleeping in the bed that they made. Our comfort zone may feel familiar, but it is not safe here. The walls are enforced by pain, doubt, and insecurity. The ceiling is so low, you cannot fully extend. The floorboards creak with your expired core beliefs. You walk upon all of your I am nots, I can't do's, and this is all I'll ever be's. All self-imposed restrictions, not true ones. This room acts as a time capsule. How counterintuitive. In an attempt to prevent history from repeating itself, we repeat history. By allowing beliefs that are rooted in the past disrupt the growth of our future. If you try to run from the past, you are bound to take it with you. It's almost like putting the past in your back pocket, then claiming that it's chasing you. Isn't that exactly what we don't want? Isn't that precisely what we are trying to avoid? We all harbor a desire for distance from the constraints and hardships of our past. But ask yourself this. Would you treat a ghost as if it were still alive? What if we don't have to be haunted by our past, but instead visited? To begin healing, we must choose to do something different, which will immediately begin to detach you from your perceived limitations. Our past does not have to predict our future. The solution is not to run away, but instead to lean in. Notice how you keep trying to run, and at the end of the day, those same feelings are waiting to tuck you in. What if we take the chance and the opposite of the worst happens? What if we take the chance, and maybe it doesn't go how we wanted it to, but we learn that those feelings don't have the same power over us as they once did? Both are very promising options, but you'll never get to experience either if you don't try. If we run from every person, circumstance, or action that could potentially hurt us, we are also running from potential opportunities, blessings, and breakthroughs that could liberate us. Allow the universe to surprise you, to provide you with proof that the limitations on what we believe can and can't happen for us do not exist. When you're in the midst of trauma, when you've had to live in it, it becomes hard to imagine a reality beyond your current one. You start to wonder if it even exists. It does. The world the universe, and you are so much bigger than your trauma. This is a fact. It is time to transcend your trauma. One day, we must all begin our journey of reprogramming, reparenting, and rewriting ourselves. I like to call this journey the severance. It is a painful one, but will leave you feeling weightless. Without all the extra weight, you can begin learning how to fly. And I wish you a safe departure. If you're still here, thank you for listening. That was, I don't know what that was, a spoken word piece, a journal entry, an essay. I don't know. I just started writing, and I kind of just let myself write. And naturally, I started to use we and you interchangeably and are. So it led me to believe that somebody else out there, at least one other person out there, needed to hear this too. And this is really just a reminder for myself, because sometimes I can forget and fall back into old habits. But yeah, I feel like if I'm feeling it, likely someone else is feeling it, even though these feelings can be very isolating. Yeah, when I was writing this, I the academic school college programming tried to kick in, and I almost put my poem, my writing into what's it called, Grammarly or something, those sites that edit your essay and your grammar. And I was like, wait, I'm not even in school, I'm not turning this into anybody, I could just write it how I want it to sound. So that was interesting, reconnecting with my writing, because I haven't written in a long time, but I remember when I used to have to write essays, I would get lots of compliments about my writing, and I felt very inspired when I wrote. Things would come out, I would come up with ideas as I was writing kind of effortlessly. But because it was school and I had to write essays about things I didn't really care about, it felt like such a chore, and so I didn't really love writing, or I couldn't see writing the way that I do now, and I enjoy it. And it was nice reconnecting with that. And I feel like I cracked the code, because I usually, when I get in front of the camera, I'll have an idea in my head, and I will get in front of the camera, set up, and in my head, I'll be so articulate. I'll think of all these sentences and phrases that I'm like, oh, I need to record this, this is well said. And then I get in front of the camera, absolutely gone. So I think writing it down really, really helped me just gather my ideas and say things the way I want to say them. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before, but I had not. Yeah, I don't really know. I want to reread my favorite quote from all of this. Where is it? If we never do the work to challenge what we were taught to believe about ourselves, our futures, and our capabilities, then we remain in the reality enforced by those beliefs. That's crazy. That's genuinely crazy. Now, I'm not trying to preach here. I'm not trying to push any toxic positivity, but I can only write these things because I have experienced them. And while I was in the trenches, in the midst of suffering and feeling like I was in a prison in my own mind, I wish somebody could have told me this. I wish somebody would have told me this instead of having to learn it over many long years. So maybe, just maybe, somebody out there is feeling the same, or needs to hear this, or it resonates for somebody. I have no idea. Or maybe it's just me. But I felt called to write it and read it aloud. Yeah, it was hard not to mess up. Well, reading aloud is very hard. But anyways, all I'm trying to say is, you are not God, you are not the universe, you are not source, you are not whatever you believe in. You cannot predict the future. Us pessimists, I used to be a pessimist, I'm not anymore. I'm a recovering pessimist. Now I'm an optimist. But when you're pessimistic and you assume the worst and you assume that like assuming the best or assuming things turning out well is unrealistic, you know what's just as unrealistic as that? Assuming the worst. So stop doing that. At the very least, just go in no expectations and let the universe set the expectations for you, because you really don't know. You really don't know. It's like, I was thinking of this analogy about how, oh, my incense doing out. Wow. Anyways, I was thinking of this analogy about how, like, the future is a blank canvas, but we can't control the tools, the painting tools, or the canvas that we were born with. But the future presents us with something different. But let's say our foundation was some old broken, dirty tools. We got this dirty, tattered up canvas. Our paints barely work. The canvas is all muddled and dirty, and this is all we got. And this is all the tools we have. So we're not approaching any other canvases, any other art situations, none of that, because of what we've been dealt. And we're like, oh, this is what art is. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm not approaching it. Meanwhile, we're missing out on opportunities because the universe is like, damn, I had a whole new set of paints for you. I had a whole new paintbrush, a whole new palette for you. I had a whole new setup for us to paint something completely different than what you were presented as a child. But you wouldn't even approach me. You steady holding on to that old paintbrush that you got when you were 8 that got 3 hairs left in it. Did that make sense? It made sense in my head, but maybe it didn't make sense out loud. Anyways, all I'm saying is the future is bigger than the little world you have in your brain. When you look up at the sky and you see the expansive sky, you're only seeing 0.00001% of the sky. And that's exactly how it is in your perspective. You cannot imagine all of the intricate ways, opportunities, and the ways people will line up, and the ways things will line up for you. So just do things. Just try something. That's all I'm saying. I'm living proof that it works. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. And you can too.